Welcome to this predicted paper from On Maths. This paper represents the best guess for the upcoming exams. Please use this paper in addition to your other revision. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our On Maths site. On Maths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions, and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing. For us to create the smallest number, we need to pick the smallest digits at the start of the number. So the smallest digit is 3, then the next smallest digit is 4, next smallest digit is 5, then the next smallest digit is 8. But it wants it to be an odd number, and this is an even number. So we have to move that 8 forward one and have that 5 at the end. So the smallest odd number is 3,485. So we've just got to know some vocab. Faces are where you could lay your hand flat on a shape. Then you've got edges where you can run your finger along. And then vertices are the corners, the bits that you would stab into your finger. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the front, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 including the back ones. So we can draw out our place value grid to help us out with this question. We've got thousands, hundreds, tens and units. So we'll need another one there. So thousands go here, hundreds here, tens here, and then units here. So this says 2,000, so a 2 will go in the thousands column. 30, so that'll be a 3 there, and 2. So we need to fill in a 0 here to keep that 2 as 2,000, otherwise that would collapse and it'd become 232. So the answer is 2032. Here we're given two angles on a straight line, and we know that all angles add up to 180 on a straight line. So to find out what A is, we're going to do 180 take away 95. 180 take away 95 is going to be 85 degrees. So angle A is 85 degrees, and the reason is that angles on a straight line add to 180 degrees. And try and get used to writing down the reason as well, because there are quite a lot of marks for the reasons. I'm going to start just by writing down the number. And we're asked to round this to 3 significant figures, and basically what that means is starting from the left hand side, it's 3 numbers that we want. So 1, 2, 3. And we're going to do our line after that third number. And you start counting the first non-zero digit. So the first digit there was 2, so we started counting. Now all the numbers to the left, or sorry, to the right, so these numbers here, will all turn to 0. But before that happens, we look at this number. Now this number, if it's 5 or more, it moves this number up by 1. If it's less than 5, that number stays the same. Now it is 5 or more, because it is 5. So it's not going to be 207, it's going to be 208. Now, a common mistake is that students write down 208. No, all the numbers to the right of that line turn to 0. So it would be 0, 0, 0. So it would be 20,000 or 208,000 exactly. When a number is next to a letter, we actually have a time sign there. So I'm going to rewrite this question as 4 times A times 9 times B. What I'm going to do is put the numbers together. So 4 times 9 and then put the letters at the end. Now 4 times 9 is 36. So it would be 36 times A times B, and in algebra we don't put the time signs, so it's 36AB. So for shop A, they're selling the rulers in lots of 3, and so we just need to get our 60 and divide it by 3 to figure out how many lots of 3 we have. So we've got 20. So if one bundle of rulers costs £1.50, then 20 times £1.50 would be £30. So in total it would cost £30 at shop A. We're going to do the same for shop B. Their bundles are 5 rulers, so we're going to do 60 divided by 5, which is 12. So we're going to buy 12 bundles at £2 each, and that will be £24. So the cheapest price is at shop B at £24. So if we just add the amount of sides each of these shapes has, a triangle has 3 sides, quadrilateral 4, pentagon 5, hexagon 6. And notice what's happening with the number of edges. They're multiplied by 3. Each time they're multiplied by 3. So all we need to do is get the 15, multiply it by 3, which will be 45. So there will be 45 edges. So we're going to start off by working out what 100% of 120 is. Well, that's obviously just going to be 120. And we're trying to get to 6%. So we always start off by working out 10%. It's always normally useful. And we just divide that 120 by 10, so we get 12. And we try to get 6%, so it'd be nice if I knew 5%. And 5% is nice and easy because we just halve that 10%. So that'd be 6. And if we got the 1% as well, we can get to the 6%. So to find out what 1% is, we just divide the 10% by 10 and get 1.2. So to get the 6%, we're going to add the 5% and the 1%. So we're going to add the 6 and the 1.2. And so we just do 6 plus 1.2, which is just going to be 7.2. And that's our answer. Let's rewrite this expression, but with a time sign in. So v times w squared. Now w squared just means times by itself. So we can rewrite that as v times w times w. Okay, so we know v is minus 10. So minus 10. And we know w is minus 4. So it's times minus 4 times minus 4. Okay, so when you multiply, it doesn't matter which order we do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do these ones first. And I'm going to ignore that times minus 4 at the end. So minus 10 times minus 4, that's a minus times a minus, which is a positive. 10 times 4, which is 40, times minus 4. Now we're going to do 40 times minus 4, so it's a positive times a negative, so that's going to be a negative. And 40 times 4, well, 4 times 4 is 16, so 40 times 4 is 160. So it's going to be minus 160. So 100% of 120 is 120. And let's put that in a bubble. So we're going to split that bubble up to find out what 10% is. And to find 10%, all we need to do is divide it by 10. So divide 120 by 10, you get 12. And then we want to split that bubble up again into 5%. And 5% is found just by halving it again. And so that would be, or just halving it, so that would be half of 12, which is 6. We could do with 1% as well. And we're trying to get to 26%, so we'll do 1%, so dividing the 10% by 10 again, 1.2. And we could do with 20%, and 20% just means we're going to double the 10%. So double 12 will be 24. So to work out 26%, we need to add these together to get to 26. So we're going to add these numbers here together. Okay, so we've got a 6, a 1.2, and a 24. And we're adding them together. And that would be 11, so carry the 1, and that would be 3. Now, it says to decrease it by 26%. So 26% is 31.2. So we need to subtract that. So we're going to do 120, take away 31.2. So I need to borrow 1 from the 2 to make that a 10, borrow 1 there to make that a 10, and that would be a 9. So 10 take away 2 is 8. 9 take away 1 is 8. and there's a 1 here, so we need to borrow that 1. That's 11 take away 3, which is 8. So our answer is 88.8. To work out the area of a circle, we first of all need to work out what the radius is. Now the radius is half the distance of the diameter. So to work out what the radius is, we get the diameter and we halve it, which will be 15 centimeters. So the formula for the area is pi times r squared, or pi r squared. If we know the radius is 15, it will be 15 squared. 15 squared is 225. And the way we write this is we put the number first and then we just put pi after it when it asks us to leave it in terms of pi. So it would be 225 pi. Now the reason why we would do this is if we want to keep all the precision, we can do it in terms of pi so we don't have to round it. So the pass mark for the test is here, and we can see that there are 2 students who passed the test. So it's 2 students out of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in total. And we want this as a percentage, so we're going to times it by 100%. So we do 2 over 7 times 100, and that gives us 28.571, blah, blah, blah. And it says it wants it to the nearest percent, so that will be 29%. I'm going to start by just copying out the question. Now the word solve means find out what x is, and the first thing we do when we see solve is draw lines to the left and right of our equal sign so we can solve it. So there's 2 things stopping us from having x on its own, this over 5 and this take away 10. Now that take away 10 isn't in the fraction, and normally I would say to get rid of the fractions first, but because that take away 10 is just sitting there on its own, we need to get rid of that first. So what I'm going to do is the opposite of take away 10 to both sides. So we're going to add 10 to both sides. That will leave the x over 5 on the left hand side, and 0 plus 10 is 10. So we want to get rid of this over 5, but what does over 5 mean? Well, it means divided by 5. So the opposite, the inverse of divided by 5 is times 5. So I'm going to do that to both sides. So we're left with x on the left hand side, 10 times 5 is 50. So x equals 50. Here we've got angles on parallel lines, and if I connect the angles up, you can see that it kind of makes a bit of a Z pattern there. And we know that Z angles that are always equal. So x will be just 163 degrees. Now the key is figuring out y. The reason why I remember is because they're alternate. Okay? I just put the letter Z in alternate to remind me that's what it is. The actual reason is not with a Z in, it's alternate. But I always remember alternate, just bung the Z in there and try and remember that anytime you have these Z angles, then they are alternate. So when you look at this graph, it looks like it's going down as well as up. So it goes down to start off with, and then it starts going up, but then it starts going down again. And when you're looking at trends, you're looking, generally speaking, what's happening with it. So if you kind of draw a line to represent roughly where the graph is going, that line is going to go up. So the general view on it, the general trend, is that it is increasing. So you can write general increase in emissions. So to draw this straight line graph, what we're going to do is just pick 3 x coordinates, which is -2, 0 and 2. So I'm going to start off with -2, and I'm just going to substitute it into the equation we've got here. So y equals -2 times -2, because that's what we're putting in, plus 8. -2 times -2 is +4. So it's going to be 4 plus 8, which is going to be 12. So at -2, our graph is at 12, which will be here. Then we're going to put in x equals 0. So it's going to be y equals minus 2 times 0 plus 8. Anything times 0 is just 0, so it's just going to be 0 plus 8, or just 8. So it's going to be 0, 8 will be our next coordinate. And then finally we've got x equals 2. So it's going to be y equals minus 2 times 2 plus 8. Minus 2 times 2 is going to be minus 4. And minus 4 plus 8, which is the same as 8 take away 4, so that's going to be 4. So at 2 it's going to be 4. So we get our ruler to be able to draw this in. We try our best to make sure it's as neat as we can, and make sure it continues on for the whole graph, so no gaps. A plan is a view that you would get if you were on top of the shape. So you were in an airplane or something looking down on the shape. So the sides of this that we'll see, well, we'd see this bit here, and we would see this bit here. So I'm going to start off with the first bit I shaded, and we've got to figure out what the different lengths will be. Well, this would be 2 centimeters across, and the whole thing is 8 centimeters. The bit we don't want is 3 centimeters, so this part here will be 5. It would look like it was 5 wide. So let's draw that on, and so we've got 2 centimeters down, and we've got 5 across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this is what it would look like from above. Now the other part will be same 2 centimeters, but it will be 3 centimeters across. So we have 3 centimeters across. Now whenever you have a join or a change in elevation, you need to show that with a line across, and so this will be our completed answer. For this question, it's really useful to label angles that you know on the diagram, even if you can't go straight to the answer. So I know that if I extend this line here, but let's do a bit of a better job of that. So if I extend this line here, the north line, then I can work out what this angle is, because it's going to be the same as this angle here. And the reason is it's Z angles, which are alternate angles. So I know that this angle is 35 degrees because of alternate angles. The question asks to find the bearing of C from B. So we're at B and we're finding the angle that C makes from north going clockwise. Well, it's going to be this angle here we're looking for. And if we look, we already know what this side is, which is 180 degrees because it's a straight line. We've got the 35 degrees there, and we've got the 21 degrees. So it's going to be 180 plus 21 plus 35. It doesn't matter which order we add them, which will equal 236 degrees. To get from the length of a square to the area, we square the length. To work backwards, what we do is we square root, because the inverse of square is square root. So we've got 196, and we're going to square root it to find the length. So we work out the square root of 196, which is what number times itself is 196. And you should learn them from 1 to 15, so you should know all of the square numbers from 1 to 15. So you should know that the answer is 14. So the length therefore is 14. So to work out what the perimeter is going to be the distance around the square. So if I draw a square out, we know that each of these lengths are 14. So it's just going to be 14 times 4. Which will be 56. If I start by drawing a number line, and we're going to put the 110 in the middle. Now I'm going to label the next one down and the next one up. It says to the nearest 10, so the next one down would be 100, and the next one up would be 120. Now we're interested in the cutoff, and the cutoff point is between the two numbers. Okay, so that's the cutoff point. If it goes above that cutoff point, it would have rounded to the next number up. So if the number was here, it would round to 120. If the number is on the cutoff point, which we can see is going to be 115, then we know it would round up. So we need to find the biggest number in this part here. So this part here, and it includes this line actually, so it includes this line. So all the numbers that would have rounded to 110 would have been 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, 112, 113, 114, which would be here. But if it was 115, it would have rounded to 120. So 114 is the biggest number it could have been before rounding to 120. And we know it didn't round to 120 because in the question it says it's 110 to the nearest 10. So our answer is 114. So we're going to start by understanding that all lines form or can form an equation y equals mx plus c, with m being the gradient and c being the y-intercept. It says here the gradient is -2, so we've already got a bit of a head start with this, but we don't know what the y-intercept is. So we're going to use this first set of coordinates to work out what the y-intercept is. So y is -31 and x is 15. And we're going to use this to solve and find out what c is. So first thing I'm going to do is, well, just tidy this up. 2 times 15 is 30, so -30 plus c. And I'm just going to add 30 to both sides to get c on its own. So that would be -1 equals c. So c is -1. So we now know that the equation is y equals -2x minus 1. And we're told that the y is -37. And we're looking for the x value, which they've called w. So let's get our solving lines in. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is add 1 to both sides. And so it would be -36 equals -2x. I'm going to now times, or divide everything by -2. And a negative divided by a negative is positive. 36 divided by 2 is 18. And then obviously that gets rid of the coefficient of the x, so it's just x. So x equals 18. So the x value is 18 and the x value is the w value. So w is 18. So we're asked to find angle BCE, and that is going to be this one here, because you start at B, go to C, and then go to E, and it's the angle you make. And I might just choose a different colour because we've already got red on here. So we're looking for this angle here. Now, my advice for these kind of questions is always just try and work your way around the shape with angles you know. So, for instance, I'm going to start with this angle here. I'm going to call this angle ADC. And we know that that must be 79 degrees. And always write down the reason. And we know it is because that is an isosceles triangle. So if you look, we've got an isosceles here, this one, and this one. And the bottom two angles, and I use the word bottom because I always imagine an isosceles as being this way up. The bottom two angles in an isosceles are always equal, so that must be 79. Now we've got 2 of the 3 angles in the triangle, and the last one is going to be angle DCA. And to work out what this angle is, we're going to take it away from 180. So we're going to do 180, take away the 279s we've just worked out. And the reason for that is angles in a triangle equal 180 degrees. Okay, so when we do that, we do 180, take away the 158, and we're left with 22 degrees. So we know that this is going to be 22 degrees. And now we can actually work out angle BCE because it's going to equal angle DCA. And the reason for that is they are vertically opposite angles. So that's just going to equal 22 degrees. Now, it is really common for these types of questions for you to get maybe 1 or even 2 marks for the answer, but 1 or 2 marks normally for the reasons and for the explanations. In fact, I've seen quite a few exam questions where you get 2 marks for the reasons and only 1 mark for the answer. So we know that James knows that he has a square, so we can actually get rid of all of this bit. It's not relevant at all to the question. And the question asks, what is the probability that the square is blue? Well, there are 3 blue squares, so it will be 3 over, and how many are there in total? Well, it says the total is 17. So the answer is 3 over 17. So if we imagine we've got the 25 meter pipe here, and we've got the 35 meter pipe here. The question's basically asking us what can we cut all these pipes into, and they all have to be the same length that will fit with the 25 meter and the 35 meter. And essentially what this question's asking is what is the highest common factor of 25 and 35. So to find the highest common factor, what we do is we just find the factors of 25, which is 1 and 25 and 5 and 5, and the factors of 35, which will be 1 and 35 and 5 and 7. And the highest common factor is the number in both lists, the highest number in both lists, so it's 5. So what we can do is we can cut all of these pipes into 5 meter pipes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, not to scale, and then 7 of these. So 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, and so there's 7 in total. So each of these are 5 meter long, and there's no wastage. And that's the longest we can make the pipes for there to be no wastage at all. So my answer is 5 meters. So we're going to first of all work out where 9 is on the y-axis. Well, we've got 8 here and 10 here, so 9 will be halfway in between. And what we're going to do now is just draw a line across at 9, and then wait until it hits the line. And then we're going to draw a line down. And you can see here that x is 1. So our answer is that x equals 1. So Pythagoras says that a squared plus b squared equals c squared, and the c is the one opposite the right angle. So I'm going to label this a and b, so it would be 5 squared plus 12 squared equals c squared, 25 plus 144 is equal to c squared, and then 25 plus 144 is 169. And then we're solving to find out what c is, and we're just going to square root both sides. So square root of 169 is 13, so c is 13. So for this question we need to understand the different types of graphs from different functions. So if we have a reciprocal graph, it looks something like this and like this. It could be the other way around, and it could be distorted, but it basically goes down to a point along here. It goes to infinity, and it goes to infinity along a point over here, and obviously those positions could change. Then we've got a linear graph. A linear graph is just any straight line, so just any kind of straight line, either up or down, and this doesn't look like either of those. Then we've got a exponential graph. An exponential graph just starts really small and then just really increases like that and just keeps going up. And here we kind of have that. Obviously the other way around, it starts going down, but here it's actually going up, so it can't be a reciprocal graph. So the graph that this is, or could be, is a quadratic graph because it's a nice U shape. So if we carry this on, it could be a nice U shape. It could also be a cubic graph as well. So it could go up and then down and then up, and that's a cubic graph. But the most obvious one is a quadratic graph. So quadratic function. There are 4 different proofs for proving that 2 triangles are congruent. Congruent means exactly the same. The first one is that if all the sides are the same. The next one is that 2 angles are the same, then a side, or an angle, then a side, then an angle. Next one is right angle, hypotenuse, side. And the last one, side, and then an angle, and then another side. Now, we don't have an angle or a right angle at all in this, so we can cross these out. But we do have 3 sides that are exactly the same. They're both 10, 13, and 16. So the proof is side, side, side. So we're looking to write a formula for the cost in pounds of hiring a microwave for X amount of days. So the cost is C, so it's going to be C equals, and it says it's going to be 55 pence a day. Now, it wants the answer in pounds, so we need to convert this 55 pence into pounds. So that's going to be 0.55, and it's going to be 0.55 times the amount of days. Well, it says the amount of days is X, so it's going to be 0.55x. Then it says that there's just a one-off cost of £15, so you're going to have to pay £15 regardless. So we're just going to add 15 onto that. So the answer would be C equals 0.55x plus 15. To find solutions for quadratics on a graph, all you need to do is find out where the graph meets the x-axis. Okay, so the coordinates this graph meets the x-axis are here, and that would be minus 0.8 and minus and 0.2, and they're also called roots. It's important to remember our speed, distance, time triangle. So we've got speed equals distance over time. And here we are given a distance because from here we're 16 kilometers away from home. So the distance, let's just draw another triangle, the distance will be 16. And we're told that the speed is 32 kilometers per hour. So the speed is 32. So to find the time, we're going to do 16 divided by 32. So the time is a half an hour. And half an hour would bring us, if we start here, half an hour would bring us to 2030 because it's 8 o'clock where we start and we end, therefore, half an hour later. The most important first thing that we do is whenever you square something, you times it by itself. So we're going to rewrite this as x minus 15 times x minus 15. And then the way we approach this is exactly the same as we've done with the other ones. We're going to do a multiplication grid. And we're going to do x minus 15 at the top, x minus 15 at the bottom. Then we're going to do x times x, which is x squared, x times minus 15, which is minus 15x. Same again here. And then we've got a minus times a minus, which is a positive 225. Put all the terms together. Now you can see here that we've got the x terms here that will add together. So that would become minus 30x plus 225, and that's actually our answer. So it's x squared minus 30x plus 225. I'm just going to write the question out a bit bigger, just so we've got more room. And loads of different methods of expanding brackets. I'm going to do smiles and rainbows. So we just draw a smile rainbow, and I put a little line there to remind me to times it. So we do 5 times 7, which is 35, and it's 7x, so it's going to be 35x, and 5 times 4, which is 20. So our answer is 35x plus 20. So we've got to first of all understand what standard form is, and standard form is a number that is between 1 and 10, but not including 10, times 10 to the power of another number. So to find out what the numbers are going to be for our standard form, we're going to just write down the decimal first, so 0.098. And we've got to put a decimal point in somewhere to make this a number between 1 and 10. So if I put it in here, that would make it 9.8, and we're ignoring the zeros to the left-hand side. So we know that our standard form is going to start off with 9.8 times 10 to the power of something. Now this times 10 is always going to be there. It's never divided by 10 or anything like that. It's always times 10. Next, we've got to find out what the power is going to be. So first of all, if it's a small number, if it's a number less than 1, which this is, it's a small number, it's going to be a negative power. And the next thing we do is work out how many jumps we had to do. So it would be 1, 2 jumps between where the decimal point was and where it is now. So 2 jumps means it's going to be to the power of -2. There's a lot going on with this question, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in all of the time signs that we don't normally show. So we've got 10 times 12x times y to the power of 4 times 13 times x to the power of 4 times y to the power of 4. And I'm going to reorder these to put the numbers together, first of all. And with multiplying, it doesn't matter which way around you do it. So I'm not changing anything. I'm going to put the x's together. And I'm going to put the y's together. So, first thing to do is 9 times 13, which is just 117. Then we've got x to the power of 12 times x to the power of 4. Now we know when we multiply two powers of the same base, and the base is x on both of those, we just add the powers. So it's 12 plus 4, which is 16. It'll be x to the power of 16, and then y to the power of 4 times y to the power of 4, we just add them together, so it's y to the power of 8. First thing we notice is that there is a square here, so we can work out what this length is going to be. It's also going to be 40 centimeters. And whenever we're working out the area of a shaded area, we're normally working out the area of two shapes and subtracting one from the other. And this question's really no different. So we're going to start off working out the area of the square, and all we need to do now for that is 40 times 40, which will be 1,600 centimeters squared. I normally only put units in our answer. The next thing we're going to do is work out the area of the circle, but to do that we need to work out what the diameter of the circle is, and if you notice, the diameter of the circle is just 40 degrees. It's the same as the width of the square, or height of the square. So if the diameter is 40 degrees, the radius would be 20 degrees. So for the circle, for the area of the circle, we're going to do pi times the radius, which is 20 squared, and 20 squared would be 400, so this will be 400 pi. This question's asking us to leave it in terms of pi, so we're going to do that. Now, next we're going to work out the all of the corners, so that includes these three here and this one. So I'll say, like, I don't know, 4 corners. Just try and explain to the person marking my exam what I'm doing. And to do that, we're just going to do the square, take away the circle. So 1,600 take away 400 pi. Now we can't actually do anything more than that. That is our answer. So it's just, we just leave it at that. And to work out just the shaded bit, which is this bit here, they are 4 equal amounts that we've got for these corners. So just one corner, which is the shaded bit, will be the 4 corners divided by 4. Now we've got a kind of fraction here. We can divide all of the terms by 4. So that will leave 1 at the bottom, 100 pi here, and this will be 1600 divided by 4 is 400. So we're just cancelling the fraction, and actually we leave it as 400 minus 100 pi, and that indeed is our answer. You can't simplify that any further. So there are two outcomes that it will rain once in the next 2 days, and that will be rain and not rain, and not rain and rain. So to work out the probability, it will rain on Monday and then not rain on Tuesday. What you're going to do is just multiply 6 over 20 by the 2 over 7. So 6 over 20 times 2 over 7. And that will give us 12 over 140. And to work out the probability, it will not rain on Monday and rain on the Tuesday. We're just going to multiply the 14 over 20 by the 5 over 7. And so that would be 14 over 20 times 5 over 7. And that will give us, 70 over 140. Now we're looking for the probability it will rain and not rain, or not rain and rain. The word or in probability means add, so we're going to get that 12 over 140 and add it to the 70 over 140, and that will give us 82 over 140, and then we can cancel that down to 41 over 70. So I'm just going to write this out again, just so we've got a bit more space. Okay, the way we solve this is very similar to solving an equation with equal signs, but this time we're going to do 2 tramlines because there's 3 sides of this inequality, and we need to get x on its own. So looking at the fact that we've got 3x plus, or 3x minus 5, we're going to deal with that minus 5 first. So we're going to add 5 to all 3 sides. So add 5 here, so we'll just leave 3x in the middle, and add 5 to the right hand side. Now we need to get rid of that 3, so we're going to divide by 3, and again we need to do it all 3 sides. So divide by 3, and divide by 3. So we've got x is greater than or equal to 7, and then we've got 10 is greater than x on the right hand side. So we notice with the simultaneous equations we've got the coefficients of the x and the y's different, and I always focus on the y's, so I'm going to make the y's the same, and there's no reason you couldn't focus on the x's and make the x's the same. It's just I tend to always focus on the y's. So what I'm going to do is figure out what 3 and 8, so I'm ignoring the signs, what's the lowest common multiple of 3 and 8, so what's the first number in both their times tables, and that's going to be 24, so I need to make them both 24. So I'm going to write out the first equation, so 2x minus 3y equals 12. Get my lines in, and I'll notice that I'm going to times everything by 8 to make that y, the coefficient of y, to be minus 24. So we got 16x minus 24y, which is good, that's what we wanted, and then we're going to do 12 times 8, which is 96. Going to write the second equation, so we've got 3x plus 8y equals minus 7, and this time I'm going to times everything by 3, and so we've got 3 times 3, which is 9x, plus 24y, which is good, that's what we wanted, and then minus 7 times 3, which is minus 21. So I'm going to write these out again, so 16x minus 24y equals 96, and 9x plus 24y equals minus 21. So with simultaneous equations we're working downwards, so I'm just going to show that with circles. Make sure the signs go with the y's. And we're either going to add or subtract to these. I'm just going to make that more clear. That's 96. And to know whether we're going to add or subtract, we look at the one we've made the same, so with the y's we've made the same, and we look at the signs. If the signs are the same, we're going to subtract. If they're different, we're going to add. So S in the same is S in subtract. The D in the different is the D in add. Well, looking at them, they are different because the first one's a negative 24, the second one's a positive 24. So we are going to be adding. But we're not just going to add those, we're going to add all of them going downwards. So we're going to do our kind of sum line, and we're going to add going downwards. So 16x plus 9x is 25x. Minus 24 plus 24 is going to be 0, which is good. That's what we wanted. We want to get rid of the y's. And then we've got 96 plus minus, so effectively minus 21, which is 75. Do a quick solving by dividing both sides by 25. And we've got x is equal to 3. Now we know what x is, but we've got to find out what y is. So what we're going to do is substitute the value of x into the first equation. So we've got 2 times 3 minus 3y equals 12. Well, 2 times 3 is 6, so we're going to take away 6 both sides. And we've got a minus 3 as the coefficient there, so we're going to divide both sides by minus 3. So we've got y equals minus 2. We're asked to go from C to A, so starting here, ending here. Now, it would be nice if we can go straight there, but we don't know the name of that road. So we've got to go down roads that we know the name of. So instead of going straight there, we're going to go down this road and then up this road. So the first road is backwards down road B, so we call that minus B. And then the next road is backwards down A, so we call that minus A. And so our answer is either minus B minus A, or more traditionally you put them in alphabetical order, so minus A minus B. First thing I'm going to do is add these column vectors. So we're going to add the tops first, and then we're going to add the bottoms. So it's plus minus 14. And so at the top it would be minus 4, and 11 take away 14 is minus 3. Then I go pick a point on my shape, and the the top one tells us how far right we're going. So we know we're going 4 to the left because it's obviously a negative. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. The bottom one tells us how far up we're going. Well, it's going to be down because it's a minus 3. So 1, 2, 3. And we can do that for each of the other points. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. And when we've done that, we can join them all up with straight lines. And label the new shape B. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our OnMaths site. OnMaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions, and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing.